Hey everyone, welcome back to the Whippy Studio. Today I am here with a brand new video for you guys. I'm going to be talking about Challengers. This is a recent movie that came out in April of this year, and it is a tennis movie starring Zendaya. And I'm just going to be diving in, talking about everything that happened in this movie. It is a very intense movie, not in the action way necessarily, but there is a lot of romance. It is rated R. It is my first rated R movie that I've been to, and when I think rated R, I don't necessarily think this movie because I don't think this movie was that bad in that sense. Like there were some explicit, but not too bad. So I think like more like a mild rated R would be an appropriate rating for this movie. But yeah, I'm excited to talk to you guys about this. Here is the little summary from Google. Tashi, a tennis player turned coach, has transformed her husband from a mediocre player into a world-famous Grand Slam champion. To jolt him out of his recent losing streak, she makes him play a challenger event, close to the lowest level of tournament on the Pro Tour. Tensions soon run high when he finds himself standing across the net from the once promising, now burnt-out Patrick, his former best friend and Tashi's former boyfriend. Okay, so this movie it's a little over 2 hours long. I feel like they took advantage with literally every minute that they had. Like, the script is really well done. When I got closer to the end, I became kind of bored, though. When they were just, like, hitting tennis balls across it and, like, all the slow motion shots with the tennis, that was kind of extra to me. But I really liked a good chunk of this movie, and it really started off so innocent, like these two guys liking the same girl, then things heat up in that hotel room, and then from there, there's this huge love triangle, while also trying to maintain a friendship between the two guys, and really, they do a great job with making you think who is really the right man for Tashi, or is there a right one? And of course, I'm going to be diving in my thoughts on each of the two guys and all of that. But tennis is interesting because it's not really a sport that I follow necessarily. It's a sport I took tennis lessons when I was younger. I never moved on from that into something else. It didn't really interest me a whole lot. It just wasn't my sport, and really I'm not really a sporty guy at all. So obviously tennis is not going to be my thing. So when I was watching this, going into it, I was like, oh no, this better not be a boring tennis movie. And it really wasn't. There are some themes of the pressures of being in a sport like that, it's not just about the love triangle. There are some real struggles with what adult athletes face, and I think it's good for anyone who wants to enter a career into professional sports. There's some fair, especially from Art in this movie. You can tell the struggle. Like, there is so much pressure for him to do as well as he can. Because we start off, we have Art and Patrick are the two friends, and Art is not the best tennis player. He's not awful by any means, but Patrick is the better player. So Tashi is a female player, and they're both attracted to her, and then they have this whole thing at the hotel room. A threesome almost emerges, but Tashi decides to have them kiss each other instead, which was a bit uncomfortable to watch, but also really funny. The theater was laughing at that one. And then she says, like, whoever wins your next match gets my number. So Patrick wins, and he gets Tashi's number. And then, so we have Tashi and Patrick are a couple, and they're, between the two couples, they're together first. Eventually they break up. She gets injured, partly due to their breakup. There's a lot of messy stuff there, and then Tashi and Art grow closer. They develop a friendship, and then they get together. And then it's not until, like, later on she encounters Patrick a few times. They hook up a few times while she's with Art. What I will say is that cheating is a huge thing in this movie. There is a lot of cheating. There is a lot of backstabbing with friends. And yeah, so it's not necessarily the best, like, with the morals. Like, I don't think there's a lot of good morals in this movie necessarily. I think it's not something to look up to if you're caught between two guys. I would not do what Tashi does. I would choose a different approach if I were you. to handle the situation. But basically, it kind of is all leading to this big matchup, like between Art and Patrick, because we have like flash forwards, we have flashbacks, but basically, in present time, they're preparing for this big match between Art and Patrick. And throughout the movie, we see glimpses of this, the lead up to this big match. And it's supposed to make us build anticipation for what is going to happen at the end. Who is going to win? Is this going to change who Tashi picks? And I mean, I wish I was on the edge of my seat more, but I didn't really care all that much because I feel like I was kind of exhausted by how slow the tennis game was going and how slow the shots were. They definitely could have cut down at least 20 minutes of this movie for sure and made it like an hour and 50 or something like that. I think it was a little bit too long for what it was. I thought a good chunk of the movie was great, but I would say that last little section was definitely dragging, in my opinion. But yeah, it's basically leading. We have Patrick, and he wants Tashi to be his coach, and this is closer to the actual match itself, and Tashi refuses. We have Art really thinking that Patrick is going to, or Art thinking that Tashi's going to leave him for Patrick, and she even says, if you lose, I'll leave you, which, that's some manipulative stuff to say, I'm sorry. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way when she told him that. I mean, and it kind of made it seem like he needed to say that to get him his motivation, but I still think a wife should never say that, even if the husband wants it to. I think she could have been way more supportive to her husband, at least I think, and you can tell that marriage, I just don't picture it working out, like, because, yeah, we do have Art and Tashi, and they do get married, and technically at the end of the movie, they're still married. But I thought they were cute. I thought I don't want to say that yet about which guy I like better for her. But like I just don't picture them because of how messy their marriage is, and she cheated on him several times with Patrick. That was just, I just don't see how that can work out. But yeah, the night before the match, we have Tashi hooking up with Patrick, and it's one of those scenes that's very much like a fight to sex type of thing. And I mean, and then they play like this church song, which I thought was not necessarily the right song choice for the scene, but whatever. And then it leads right into the next match, and they do a callback to when they put like the tennis ball like right in the middle of the racket when like one of them hooked up a Tashi or something. I think it was when I don't remember which one it was, but Patrick did that during the match, and that really upset Art, and that really kicked him into this gear that he is going to beat Patrick. And I kind of thought that's where it was going. But then again, it's interesting because I was debating back and forth about this movie. Who is the underdog? Technically, it would be Art is the underdog, because even though he's with Tashi, he is supposedly like the lesser of the two when it comes to the skill at tennis, and she keeps cheating on him, so he's obviously not her first choice. And clearly, because she went with him first, she went with Patrick first, Art was never her first choice. So it's hard to me to root for a ship like that if the guy is like the girl's second choice. Like, how am I supposed to root for that? I've tried to root for stuff like that, but I just never can. It's just toxic. And yeah, that's just me though. Gosh, where do I go from here? But basically with Patrick, I felt like we didn't get to spend enough time with him to fully understand his character. I mean, we see him leading up to the match that he's like a broken mess after he lost Tashi, and he's sleeping in his car. And then, we see him like messing around with Tashi, and I'm not a big fan of that. Like him going after a married girl, obviously trying to get back with her and asking her to coach him. I don't think that's right at all. I would say I definitely think Art was the better friend out of him and Patrick. I don't think Patrick deserves Art as a friend at all. That's just me though. I would say out of the two friends, I preferred Art more. And that's just mainly because I felt bad for him. I mean, here he's trying to play a sport, and he's not, he's a good player, but clearly he's losing matches, and I think Tashi's giving him a lot of pressure, and that's not helpful to him, especially when you add in the extra pressure of facing off against her boyfriend or ex-boyfriend and his ex-best friend. Like, that's a lot for him. So I do sympathize with him a lot. So that's why I would say I like Art better than the two brothers. And I felt like I liked that we got to see things from his perspective a lot, and how he kind of like started off as the underdog and kind of ended off as the underdog as well. But he really took charge and like kind of like toughened up and grew some balls. And by the end of the movie, it seems like he doesn't need Tashi anymore. He can survive on his own. He can play on his own. He doesn't need her as a coach. And the message I kind of got from the end of this is the power of the friendship between the two guys, because I read this somewhere. This movie isn't a love story between Tashi and either guy. The love story is between Art and Patrick. And I'm saying the love story in quotations, but this movie, that friendship is so powerful. And I love their scenes together. I thought they played really good, best friends, sometimes not best friends, really well. And yeah, I really liked that. I thought it was a great dynamic between them. The actors had great chemistry. And I was kind of rooting for them to work their stuff out. And I kind of like how the movie ended with, it almost looks like, is a fight going to emerge on the field and who's going to win? There's all these questions in the air. No, it ends off with them literally catching each other in the air. And that was actually a great ending, and I really like that ending. And as to what I hope will happen, I hope that Art divorces Tashi and that they both ditch Tashi and just be friends again. I'm not saying they have to, like, get together, but what I'm saying is that I think their friendship would have been perfectly fine if Tashi was not involved in that. I think things would have been so much smoother, and they probably would have been able to stay friends, honestly. But, and with Tashi, I will grant her some defense with, being a woman in a sport is not easy. It's even harder than a man. There's all that pressure, too, of, like, looking pretty and playing the best, even more than a male, honestly. And especially, she got injured. That was clearly hard on her. I'm not really trying to make excuses for her actions, because she did some really messed up stuff in this movie. And I thought Zendaya was gorgeous, and she is always drop dead gorgeous, to be honest. Like, everything I've seen her in, she's just so pretty. And there's no exception in this movie. I thought she was gorgeous, and that when she was with her sunglasses, she looked great, I thought. And I thought it was pretty significant when she's looking like she keeps looking back and forth, like, while they're playing, and it really shows. She's caught between these two guys. Here's the thing. It's hard because you guys are probably wondering, who do you like better for her? Well, I don't really like either of them. I mean, with Art, like, I thought they had a cute friendship, and I kind of like that dynamic, and him helping her when she was injured and helping her, get back into the game and all of that. I like that. But, seeing them married with a kid, it just surprised me, because she seems so immature, and she keeps going back and hooking up with Patrick. But, like, how can I root for that? I just can't. And with Patrick, I think their chemistry might have been slightly better, like, romantic chemistry wise. But then again, like, they're just so toxic between them too, and Patrick, like, continuing to go after his best friend or ex-best friend's wife / girlfriend. That's messed up. So I don't know how I can root for that either. So to me, I think Art was the least in the wrong of the three, and then Patrick, and then Tashi was the most in the wrong. If you're looking at it from a moral standpoint, and you guys know this about me, I like to look at things morally, and it's different from a lot of other podcasts that really analyze it and are like, oh, like, this is okay for them to do because it's sexy and all of that. And I don't think a lot of what happens in this movie is okay. That doesn't mean it's a bad movie, because I like the movie. It was really enjoyable to watch. I went on prom night to watch it instead of going to prom, and it was a good choice because I really liked it. I thought all the three actors especially, were, I think, great in their roles. The only thing downside of it, besides the moral problems, but that's not a fault to the movie itself, is that I think they could have shaved some of the time off and really like sped the ending up with all those tennis shots, because I was kind of getting bored. And trust me, the end of the movie is not where you're supposed to get bored. If anything, you should be bored at the beginning, and then it gets better and better and better, and then boom, that ending. It was different here because I was pretty engaged right from the start, and then the ending really dragged on. But don't get me wrong, I liked the ending. I liked Art and Patrick reconciling, and yeah, I hope Art will divorce Tashi, and Patrick and him will go off, do their own thing. I don't know, get together. I don't really care what they do, but I think that friendship is very valuable, and they have history. They've known each other longer than they've known Tashi. So I think that friendship should be saved, and I think with some talks and apologizing, I think they could probably have a good friendship. And with Tashi, I don't know, because she has a daughter with Art. Like, what would that look like? I don't know. It's not something I'm really thinking about what a sequel would look like, but I do think she needs to reflect on her actions more. And I think she knew what she was doing was wrong. I think she did know that. I just wish she didn't keep doing it. Like, if she wasn't happy with Art, she should have just told him, like, I'm not happy with you, like, we need to end this, or something had to change with them for that marriage. And I just don't think, I think the sport overshadowed that marriage, and there was just really no romantic chemistry to it. And again, the Tashi and Patrick relationship was toxic on its own, and I felt like she led him on too, but that's not, I mean, I think that was just messed up because of Art, like, being involved in that, and being still a role in that. And I thought their romantic chemistry was a little bit better, but honestly, I didn't think either of them, like, either of the couples I was really rooting for. So I'd say to say what I'm rooting for is Art and Patrick's friendship, and I think a lot of other people agree with that too. But it was a good movie, though. I personally enjoyed it. If you watched it, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on it. I would probably give it an A minus. It was a solid movie. Again, except the few minor complaints I had at the end. But yeah, I'll be back soon to talk about more movies. I think I'm going to try to do Monday movies for something fun. But yes, thanks everyone for listening, and I'll see you later. Bye, everyone.